Hi girls! This is the cake board I'm starting with. I like to get it bigger than my cake. You can always change it after you get it frosted. You can take it off and put it on another cake board, but this is what I'm using today. I put a gripper under it so that my cake doesn't slide while I'm trying to work on it, and of course my buttercream, and a gripper under my buttercream so that my bowl doesn't move around on me, and of course my cakes. I have made a lemon cake and a lime cake just to be kind of interesting today. All right, now this is a crusting buttercream. You'll find it in your class materials, in your recipes. It's called the class buttercream. I like to use that as my go-to, and a lot of people request it. It is a really good hit. All right, so I like to keep it covered a lot too, just because it crusts and it doesn't take too long to crust. Okay. I think I'll put the yellow one on the bottom. And I did just pull these out of the freezer. I pop my cakes in the freezer as soon as I bake them. I take them out. I cut the top to level it. And then I wrap it in saran wrap, plastic. You could even do it in wax paper. You can even pop it in a Ziploc bag if you want to keep it for a month or so before you use it, and it's perfectly fine. It turns out very well. This is my parchment. I leave that on when I freeze it because I really don't want to take that off. It kind of preserves it while it's on there, and I don't want to take it off until I get ready to frost my cake. Okay, so I'm going to put a little buttercream down on my board, and that's going to act as my glue to hold the cake onto the board. If I'm doing a wedding cake or a really special event cake and I don't want my cake to slip at all, I do melt chocolate or chocolate wafers, the Wilton wafers, and maybe like 3 or 4 little wafers. I actually melt them right on the board too. I just put them on the board, pop it in the microwave, 10-second increments till it's melted, move it around. You have to hurry up and pop your cake on there because it does harden pretty quick, but that cake won't go anywhere on you. And that works especially well for wedding cakes. Okay, now I'm going to take my parchment off, pop this on my board, and I'm going to move it around a little bit just to get it to stick there. Okay. Now we're going to fill the cake. I should have brought my spatula. Okay. All right. Okay, I like to get enough at one time to fill the whole inside there, because the more you work with, the less likely that you're going to be getting the crumbs in. But in your filling, it really doesn't matter. But and just move that around. Try to get it as level as you can. It doesn't have to be perfectly level because you can kind of squish it down once you put your top layer on. Layer on. This is the lime. And this is the same as the other. It just came out of the freezer also, and it still has the parchment on it. And I do like to turn my cake then upside down when I get to the top, just because it's more level on that bottom part. So I'm going to just put it down there. Pop that down, and then I'm going to take my parchment off. just helps it be a little bit more level. The more level your cake is, the better it does look. So, okay. At this point right here, you could make a naked cake. Those are quite trendy right now. And in fact, if you wanted to do a naked cake, you can put a very, very thin layer of buttercream and scrape it off. And you see how I'm getting that to where you can see the cake again? Of course, if you're gonna do it naked, you're probably gonna want to trim all these edges off before you start putting your cake together. But I'm going to take all that frosting back off, and what this does, it still gives the effect that it doesn't have any frosting on because you can see the cake, but it protects it. It keeps it moist and without drying out, because if you do leave the cake completely naked like this side, it is going to dry out and you're going to have to hurry up and serve that cake. It can't be sitting out for hours or all day or all night. But if you put a protective layer on like this, then you can. It's like a regular cake. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. Because this cake is a little crummy, I'm going to put what's called a crumb coat, which is just a thin coat. I don't always do that. If it depends on the cake. If the cake is not that crummy, I'll just go ahead and put all my frosting on at one shot. But this one's kind of crummy, so I'm going to show you how to do a crumb coat, or what we call it is a dirty ice. And it's called that because the icing is contaminated with the crumbs. And if you do any scraping of the icing, you don't want to put it back in your regular batch because you're going to contaminate your good icing with the crumbs. This is my faithful icing smoother. You can use any kind of smoother. Anything that just has a straight edge is all you want. And you want to make sure that it's flat on the bottom, and you hold it flat on the bottom. So there's no space. That's the key to getting your cake smooth, is making sure the bottom edge stays flat. Now, then I'm gonna be taking some icing off just to smooth it. Probably not very much is going to come off, but I'm going to tilt it just a little bit towards me, but I'm still keeping the bottom flat. And I'm going to turn my turntable and just barely let that scrape. And as it scrapes, it's smoothing it. So any frosting that you get on, you don't want to put it back in your bowl because it is contaminated with the crumbs. And I'm going to do it one more time just to smooth it a little bit. We're going to do our final smoothing though after we get that last coat on. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to smooth the top. And the way I like to do the top, you're going to come at your cake. try to eye it and get it at the level, because you want it to be, you want to get these edges that are sticking up off of there. And you're going to just come in this way. Every time you're going to want to take that buttercream off. And we'll go more in depth when I get the final coat. I'm just trying to smooth it just a little bit right now so that I can pop it in the freezer. I want to chill it for about 5 or 10 minutes. And it's going to firm up that buttercream, and then it's going to, it will trap the crumbs inside there, so then we'll be able to get our good coat put on.